Different clubs approach transfer windows in their own different, unique sort of ways. So, for example, Leeds United this window seem to be focusing on selling players to get that revenue in and then spend the revenue from that point onwards. But a common tactic is to sign replacements before you sell players, so you know that you're not at risk of potentially getting caught short at the start of the season. And it is starting to feel like Norwich City have done precisely that in the John Rowe saga, because Leeds have gotten a pretty huge boost in the John Rowe move. Hi, welcome to the channel. And there's a lot of moving parts in this move, with Jonathan Rowe basically being the target for Leeds United at the minute. All the headlines are about this guy. And there's three different bits of moving stuff that I think ultimately point towards some pretty good news for Leeds United here. So in this video, I'm going to run through exactly what has happened at Leeds United, what's happened at Norwich in order to sort of help things move along a little bit more, some potential movement that has happened elsewhere amongst the world of football, what this could ultimately mean for the move, and some sort of timeframes for what's going to be going on in the coming days, weeks, months, etc. And finally, will a deal happen? That's always a pretty good question to ask. So first up, we have to ask, what exactly has happened at Leeds? Now, this is a report from Graham Bailey, who is far from a bad source, is someone that I sort of am happy to listen to and then corroborate various things with, because he tends to know his stuff. Leeds are talking to Norwich about Rowe. He came up in Sarah talks. I'm told they want him for less than £10 million overall, and it seems they, being Norwich, are willing to let him go. Very much telling that this also was retweeted by a Norwich account who tends to know a fair bit about Norwich news. It looks like John Rowe will be probably leaving Norwich City, and it indicates a very clear push for Rowe from the Leeds United end, and it is very easy to see why. Happy to play on both flanks, so works perfectly whether he's playing alongside Nonto or James. A little bit two-footed and very, very good at putting the ball in the back of the net, which is ultimately what we need if we are looking to replace Crescencio Somerville. But it's not just Leeds having an interest that we're talking about here, very obviously, because something has also happened at Norwich, and there is also the movement elsewhere, but I'll get to that in a minute after I talk about Norwich, because interestingly, Norwich have made a new signing by the name of Forson Amankwa, and technically, in various places, he is billed as playing as a midfielder, which is weird, because realistically, that's not what he does. Had a look at his heat map, it is almost identical to that of Rowe. He's someone that is technically a winger, but happy to cut inside and play in those narrow channel areas, which is interesting. He also plays on both flanks, and interestingly and importantly, I don't think he's a Gabriel Sara replacement. I think he doesn't quite fit that profile. Sara in a 4-2-3-1 is part of the 2, whereas this guy is clearly part of that attacking 3 line. And he's also very young, with plenty of space to develop. Rowe is, off the top of my head, 20 years old. Amankwa, 21. So they're not really losing out on that much in terms of potential. And the fact that they're effectively signing a Rowe replacement right now, as these talks are going on, tells me that they see an exit being potentially imminent, which I think could be very, very interesting for the rest of this move. And in addition to that, there is also movement elsewhere, which is very, very important for Leeds, because another player that Leeds have been watching has made a move, as Jezran Raksaki now looks very much set for Sheffield United on loan. It's a move that makes sense for him. Club has been relegated from the Premier League, are looking quite desperately for some attacking outlets. Up until now, one of their best signings had been Jamie Shackleton, and he's a player that will play probably week in, week out there, get plenty of minutes, and be able to make a big old impact at a club that he, might potentially be able to push for the Premier League with, be able to get a lot of attention to himself. And in my opinion, the fact that Raksaki looks set for Sheffield United puts a lot of attention into the Rowe conversation now from the Leeds United end. It gives the Whites a lot more of a focus, and it says that he is definitely the main target. We'd heard basically 2 options in terms of winger: Raksaki, Rowe. Raksaki, not available anymore. Rowe, yes, available, and also Norwich have signed a replacement. That is what's telling me that there's a little bit of movement, a little bit of flow, and what could all this combined mean for the move? And in my opinion, it seems increasingly likely. We already know that Norwich have a clear price point, and it seems in reasonable reach, especially since Leeds said that we believe we can get it done for the £10 million mark. Graham Bailey is now saying the same thing. And that tells me that making that agreement between our initial £7 million and their sort of valuation of him will be fairly simple, in my opinion. And we have proven our ability to raise bids because that happened with Bogle. We initially offered, I think, £4 million. Sheffield United were like, well, no, we'll have 7, thanks. And we ended up just giving them 5. We're good at negotiating at the moment, and that is what we need to focus on if we want to get these moves done. And the fact that Norwich are already preparing for the exit tells me that we're looking absolutely fine, and it says a lot about the estimated timeframes as well. Because in my opinion, the estimated timeframe is fast. Because you need to think about it. Things have gotten a lot louder for a reason, and that is because these conversations are happening near constantly at the moment, and the potential for a move is rising and rising and rising as the days go on. And in my opinion, it makes sense for all of the parties to try and get this done before Saturday. For example, if you're Norwich, you don't really want to have to say, well, Rowe is fit, but he's not in the first 11 and he's not on the bench because he wants to join one of our rivals in the Championship. That's a really bad look in terms of PR. From the Leeds perspective, you want to sign people before the season start, A, because it'd be really nice to be able to show him off at Elland Road, and B, because he gets a little bit more time to train with the squad. The sort of timeline that I thought would be an absolute dream would be, let's be honest, he's not going to play against Portsmouth. That's a little bit too soon. But sign him prior to Portsmouth, show him off in the Portsmouth match, and then maybe give him a few minutes in the Middlesbrough game. Just because then he's had a few days of training to be like, right, okay, I know the system now, and it builds and it builds. In my opinion, in terms of timing, it's more of a question of how badly Norwich want to hold on than whether or not Leeds can do the deal. Because financially, yes. But for me, it's a question of how desperate are they feeling to get Rowe that one more appearance to try and get 3 points on the board. Because everything I've heard from Norwich fans is that this is going to be a tough season for them. It's going to be a rebuild season, and they are completely understanding of the fact that they might be stripped of a lot of players. It's just, are they happy with being stripped of those players fairly sharpish? Basically, I am now borderline convinced about this move. I am 90% certain it'll go through. There is still that 10%. There's still a chance, but I'm feeling very comfy with it at the moment. It makes sense for absolutely everyone. Rowe has been recorded as saying that he wants to be on the right side of an Elland Road crowd. Norwich kind of need the money, and Leeds need a winger. It adds up for absolutely everyone, and in my opinion, it is almost certainly a question of details at this point. The idea of a move is probably in everyone's head already. It's just questions around number, clauses, fees, timelines, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, as always, that's just what I'm thinking. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're not yet, that is always massively appreciated, and basically, come on words, at the start of the match against Portsmouth, I will be donating 1p for every single one of my subscribers to Prostate Cancer UK. Really important cause, so it's one click, might as well do it. Could even be a channel member, it's 99p a month, and I like to think that I give the channel members a little bit of value, including this video being a few hours early for them, because I'm publishing it at, I think, like 8 a.m, but I'm going to, the moment I filmed it, put it out for them. But yeah, either way, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you later. And now, bed, because I'm very, very tired. Toodaloo.